Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time, back with the one and only and CEO of Hemlane, Dana Dunford. How you doing, Dana?
I'm great. Thanks for having me today.
I always look forward to these conversations. We're doing them weekly now. We missed last week because I had some details on a closing, so sorry about that. But let's just get right into it. What I wanted to talk about today is something I just finished up with Jonathan Twomley, who's a big apartment syndicator. He and I are talking about the next couple of years being fun for guys like us because we got out of the market, right? We thought there was a lot of craziness going on. We both sold assets um, as the run up was coming, and now we're seeing a lot of stress in the apartment and commercial space. And I can translate to residential, right? There's a lot of people thinking you could you could do Airbnb arbitrage, you could do all these easy things because debt was zero or risk was zero. Now we're
Mhm.
seeing debt reset. Jonathan's like, it's always the debt that blows up and hurts people. And what Jonathan and I kind of closed on is the good operators, whether it's residential or commercial, will win. And then finally, never forget you make your money when you buy. So there's going to be a lot of stress in the system in the next couple of years. So remember that. So let's talk about operations first, Dana, because that's where Hemlane comes in. We'll stay in the residential space. A lot of people haven't worried about operations because everything was going up 20% a year and you could be a bad operator. You got lucky. And I think it's going to be about operations the next couple of years. So talk about that.
Yeah, I think there's two things there. Those who are sitting there and have purchased a property can't change up purchase price.
Nope.
Um, you can't really on the interest rate side change it. You can refinance when interest rates change, but
Mhm.
you can't change that. What can you change? You can change your property management. And
Yep.
there's a couple of things that I think are important, kind of at like a high level strategy level. The first is knowing your numbers and having the transparency into it. You could have one rental, you could have 100 rentals. And no matter what, you're still looking at what those numbers are. What is my vacancy rate? How do I reduce that? What am I making in my rental income? What are the opportunities there, but also what are the risks if I increase rent? And then on the kind of day-to-day operations side, it's on your maintenance and repairs. How do you do preventative maintenance so you don't have some shockingly high bill on your HVAC? How do you make sure that when you're working with service professionals, you're not getting screwed over where suddenly you have a $2,000 expense in 1 month and it wipes out your cash flow? So all of those types of metrics and stats and understanding how is my property performing and how can I make it perform better are super important. You can compare yourself to your neighbor's property that's identical to yours. You can't really compare it to another property that may be in a different state, different type of property, etc. And so it's really good to look in the mirror and say, what am I spending money on my OPEX? And then how do I improve that or improve my top line growth? So that is really and top line growth, I mean the rental income you make. And so that is really the most important thing as a real estate investor to look through right now. And I'm a goal setter. If you just say, okay, great, let me look at it, looks okay, maybe my vendors might be charging a little bit too much, but when the time comes I'll renegotiate with them.
Right.
Nothing's going to happen. But if you basically say, okay, here's how much I'm making in cash flow, here's how much I want to make in cash flow, and I need to figure out how to get there, you might not get there, but you know exactly why you didn't get there, and you can go and break it down. So I think goal setting, like having the transparency and then setting some goals, are super important. This is not something where you screw over your tenants and anything like that, because that actually hurts your cash flow. They move out. This is much more of tightening up your operations, like you said.
Yeah, I think the next year or two is going to be about tightening up the operations. I mean, there's a lot of I mean, the last 2 years, the average houses went up 30 or 40% residential. That hides a lot of you don't you're not as focused. And again, I've been through this. I've been through a recession with real estate. Trust me when I say you're going to start focusing on the dollars that go out, right?
Mhm.
Because, the equity in your house is flat or going down. So you should always be investing. One rental at a time is a cash flow and yield game. But when the market gets hot, sometimes people come in and all they want to talk about is appreciation. And that's not a long-term solution. You've got to be in this game for a long term, and it's positive cash flow or a great deal that really brings that. So I think Hemlane is going to provide certainly for self-managers, certainly for people in multiple markets. Hemlane's that kind of interface that allows you to inspect with certainty and audit what's really going on, and allows you to work with multiple professionals and rebid. You're absolutely right. One of the things that I know will happen is operators may not raise rents this year because you don't want to give the tenant a reason to move. Cash flow, like if you have 2 or 3 units, you have one turn that could destroy the year.
Yep.
So folks, focus on operations. If you don't have Hemlane, you want to try it out. There's a POC. You can get 30-day trial, I guess you would call it 30-day trial. Where do they get that?
Yeah, you get a 30-day trial at www.hemlane, which is HEMLANE.com. And just mention one rental at a time because you do get 20% off your first year there as well. And I do think, to Michael's point here, it's incredibly important to say, try it out, see what it does, compare it against your current process.
Yeah.
How is this helping increase your cash flow? Maybe it's on property management fees, maybe it's vendor fees, whatever it may be. You really want to make sure that you have the best process set up for your property.
Yeah. And again, if you there's I still can't believe we had the CEO of the company create a 30-day PDF trial. It's so awesome. We put it in my free course. There's a link below. If you actually want videos of Dana walking you through the platform, you need to be a paid member of the course, How to Get Started One Rental at a Time. They're all there. But either way, I believe operations will be more important. I think Hemlane will help those mom and pop investors kind of inspect. And don't believe me? Go get the trial, play with it for 30 days and see what's what. Dana, thank you so much.
Great. Thanks for having me.